Hello everyone, Nick here with another episode of Fanfiction Friday. I'm sorry for the long hiatus, as I've been kind of busy. But I'm back now. Ow, finally. Seriously, I want to get back to this for ages. Was- Um, anyway, it, sorry, it's early in the morning. I'm still a bit tired. Um, anyway, this fanfic is just like last time. Is from the Almighty Ultimix, who again is a great fanfiction writer. I definitely recommend giving him a check. Or definitely recommend checking out his account on fanfiction. But this one is called Puzzle Games and Revelations. It's a Johnny Test fanfiction, and that's really all I can say. Yeah. Let's get started. Early on a Friday morning, Henry Teacherman was driving in his car down the abandoned stretch of road that led to Pork Belly Middle School. Well, the middle-aged, overweight teacher groaned and took a sip of his morning coffee, willing his eyes to stay open. It wasn't an easy battle, especially when he knew he'd be in for 6.5 hours of kids yelling and screaming while he desperately tried to get a hold of them so he could do his job. He shuddered at the thought, especially when he thought of what, as most disruptive student Johnny Test had thought of to try and get out of schoolwork. He shut his eyes tight and opened them again, trying to will away the headache he could feel coming on already. Something told him that this was going to be an especially long day. He slowly pulled into the school parking lot and slowly making his way into the classroom. He sighed as he sat down in his chair, and only an hour, or this room would be filled with screaming kids that he would be forced to teach. He tried to distract himself by preparing the lesson, but he'd already prepared most of it the night before, so that didn't help him for long. Then moved on to his unsolved Rubik's Cube, but he quickly gave that up after it became apparent that he was never going to solve it. He sighed again, wondering what insanity awaited him today. With any member of the Test family in your class, especially Johnny, havoc seemed to happen any time they so much as touched something. He had heard the stories of some of Johnny's adventures from the students. Obviously, Johnny stretched the truth a little with his stories to make himself seem cooler, but for the most part, the plans he came up with were ingenious. That sparked a bit of interest in him. Johnny was such a lazy student, always claiming that school and other education-related activities were boring and most of his schoolwork was barely D-level. But he came up with ideas that would have taken him and any other person he knew hours to think of, and Johnny did it all on the fly. Now fully intrigued, Henry sat upright in his chair with his brow furrowed in confusion. Now that he really thought about it, it didn't make any sense as to how Johnny could conceive these complicated schemes, but at the same time turn in such poor work that required little effort. He pulled open a drawer in his desk and fished around until he found his students' math homework from the day before. He flipped through the pages until he found Johnny's and took a second look at it and found himself even more confused. Johnny had gotten a majority of the problems was wrong, but that's not what confused him. What confused him was that at the questions that Johnny had gotten right, he followed the proper formulas as to where the questions he'd gotten wrong completely ignored the formula. Maybe Johnny had mixed up the formula? No, that couldn't be it. The answer was completely nonsensical. Maybe he just got lazy. Possible, but he soon noticed that with the 20 questions on the paper, Johnny had gotten the answer right every 5 questions with absolutely no flaws. This baffled the teacher and would require more looking into. Suddenly the bell for the beginning of school sounded, and one by one the students started filling the room. He would have to resume this later. Putting on his usual grumpy face, Henry pushed himself to his feet and addressed the class as usual. This time was giving his lecture. While he was giving his lectures, however, he continuously glanced at Johnny out of the corner of his eye. The boy was goofing off as usual, but every so often he would catch Johnny looking at the board, seemingly studying it for a few seconds before giving a slightly scrunched up face in a bored manner, and he turned away again. That just served to further confuse him. The look on Johnny's face wasn't a look that said he was bored. In truth, if he had to put a definition on it, it seemed like he had been insulted by the material. Now he knew he had to find out what was really going on. Okay, class, you've all been pretty good today, so I'm going to let you out for recess a little early. Class cheered within seconds. The room was empty except for him. He didn't stay for long. He grabbed his car keys and headed to the parking lot. Half an hour later, he had gone to his house for what he needed and drove back to school. Of course, the principal would notice he'd let his class out early. The teacher had left the school, and he had quite a bit of explaining to do. I'm telling you, it all just doesn't add up, Mr. Teacherman said to the principal. Well, the principal leaned back in his office chair, one foot up on his desk, while he busily twirled the pencil between his fingers. Well, you're definitely right, he said, sitting up and putting the pencil down, and started idly typing on the computer on his desk. And I think it's good on you to look into it, but you still shouldn't have let the students out early or left them unattended. It's a huge liability risk, and the school board can easily be sued if any student were to he finished typing on the keyboard. Bingo! The security cameras are offline. And sure enough, the camera in the corner of the room suddenly slumped, as if it lost power. The principal then turned his attention to the teacher in front of him. Sorry about that. Just wanted to make it look like I actually take this job seriously. Now, do you have any idea what to do next? He asked. As a matter of fact, I do. The rest of the day passed by normally, until the school bell rang and signaled the end of school. All the students raced for their lockers, eager to go home. Johnny had just packed up his supplies and was heading for the door, when, Johnny, would you please come here? The 11-year-old boy froze. It was never a good sign when the teacher asked to see you after school. Cautiously, he walked up to the teacher's desk. Yes, Mr. Teacherman? Henry had dropped up his gruff look and for once didn't look at the boy with such a scrutinizing gaze. I'd like to ask you a couple questions, Johnny. This may take a bit, so get a chair to sit on. Sir, I've got a bus to catch and my dad doesn't like it when I don't get home on time, he said. I've already phoned your dad and told him that you'll be late and that I'll drop you off at home. So if you would please go grab a chair. Johnny sighed but did as the older man asked. He sat in the chair, not looking very pleased that he was being forced to do this. Johnny, do you know what this is? He grabbed his Rubik's Cube and showed it to him. It's a Rubik's Cube, Johnny said, not sure if he should be confused as to why the teacher asked him that, or insulted that he didn't think that he knew what a Rubik's Cube was. Good. See, I've had this thing for a few years now, and I've never been able to solve it. I was wondering if you could. He put the Rubik's Cube down in front of Johnny and who stared at the small little puzzle cube for a second before replying. Is this why you're keeping me after class? So I can solve your stupid puzzle? Well, he said with annoyance, glaring at the teacher. Unfazed by the boy's look, he said, more or less. Can you solve it? Johnny grumbled inaudibly as he picked up the cube. He studied all 6 sides for a few seconds before he went to work. Henry watched in amazement as Johnny's hands flew over the device, twirling and rearranging the colored tiles until every side was the same color. He casted a quick glance to the clock and then back to his pupil. Can I go home now? Shaking off his shock, Mr. Teacherman simply brought out what appeared to be another puzzle game from under his chair. Not yet. This is the 4-disc Tower of Hanoi. Is that how it's pronounced? Hanoi? Or Hanoi? I don't know. I'm just going to say Hanoi. He said. The game was just a simple stand with 3 prongs on it with 4 discs on the left side of it. Each of the discs was a different size from largest to smallest. The goal of this game is to take all of the discs on this side and put them on the other side using as little moves as possible. You can only move 1 disc at a time, and you can't put a larger disc on top of a smaller disc. Why don't you give it a try? Johnny looked suspiciously at the tower, then at Mr. Teacherman, but didn't say anything, and like before, studied the game for a few seconds before moving the discs. Again, he watched Johnny effortlessly solve the puzzle game in no time at all. Johnny pushed the tower towards his teacher. There, can I go now? Well, it was obvious that Johnny was getting frustrated. It made me even suspicious of what he was doing, but he didn't say anything else. Just one more game, and then I'll take you home. Johnny growled in annoyance under his breath. This time, Henry pulled out a box with a picture of some sort of cube-shaped puzzle on the front, and dumped the contents of it onto his desk. Just solve this puzzle and I'll take you home. Johnny was very suspicious now, staring at him with a calculating look like they had never seen in the young boy's eyes. Just as soon as it appeared, though, it was gone, and Johnny began to examine the puzzle like the others. He picked up a couple of pieces, knowing that it looked like each of the 120 pieces had a different shape. Before Johnny went to work, again, Henry watched as Johnny spread out each piece before him, though keeping them all close enough for each other that still looked like a mess. And started laying down and connecting the pieces. After some time, Johnny pushed the last piece into place. There, I'm done. Can I please go home now? Mr. Teacherman just stared at the complete puzzle in front of him with a slight look of awe on his face. It's before he shook himself out of it. Of course, let's go. The car ride to Johnny's house was awkwardly silent, with Mr. Teacherman thinking to himself while he drove, and Johnny looking out the window, avoiding eye contact or any attempt at conversation. Shortly after, they arrived at the test residence, and Henry walked Johnny up to the door. Hey Johnny, can you tell your parents that I want them to see me after school tomorrow, and to bring you as well? Johnny gulped. That depends. Am I in trouble for something? No, not at all. I just want to talk to them a bit more about your schooling. Johnny looked very nervous, but nodded. Thank you, Johnny. I'll see you tomorrow. Johnny didn't reply and dashed in through the front door. The next day, time seemed to fly by, and before Johnny knew it, the final bell had rung. He made a dash for the front of the school, hoping that he could hop on the bus home and see he forgot about the meeting. Luck was not on his side, though, as his parents just so happened to be walking in through the front doors, as he just so happened to be running out. Johnny, there you are, his mother said. What did you do this time, mister? His father immediately accused. Ow. Lilia shot at her husband with a glare and elbowed him in the ribs. And do you have any idea what this is about? His mother questioned. He shook his head as his shoulder slumped. There'd be no way of avoiding this now. He slowly trudged down in the hall with his parents. Back to Mr. Teacherman's classroom. Mr. Teacherman was expecting them and already had seats waiting as they walked in the door. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Test. His greeting was friendly, lacking his usual grumpy tone he normally had whenever he had to speak to them. All right, Hugh said. What did Johnny do wrong this time, and how much is it going to cost to fix it? Ow! He yelled, rubbing his bruising ribs. Lilia turned from giving her husband a death glare and spoke in a more formal tone. What my husband means to is what's the reason you called us down in here? Johnny told us that you wanted to talk about his schooling, but that was it. Well, Mr. Teacherman tapped his thumbs together, trying to think of a good way to go about this. We've had many meetings in the past discussing Johnny's worth ethic, or lack of one. Both parents nodded without saying anything, so he continued. And every time I've said that Johnny has potential to be a great student if he simply applied himself, well, now I'd like to retract that statement. What? Lilia suddenly developed a very dangerous look in her eyes, clutching her purse until her knuckles turned white. Henry tried his best not to look intimidated, though it didn't completely hold up. Instead, I would like to say that Johnny has potential to be a great student if he stopped holding back. The test parents blinked once, twice, 3 times. Come again? Q said, utterly baffled. Henry took this time to pull out the 3 puzzles he had Johnny do yesterday. First, he picked up the Rubik's Cube. Yesterday, this was an unsolved puzzle that I had hopelessly scrambled to the point where no one I knew could solve it. Johnny solved it in less than a minute and a half. Sorry about that? He said, putting it down in front of the parents. Hugh and Lilia turned and then looked at their son, who had shrunken back in his seat and wouldn't look up from the ground. And then I showed him this Tower of Hanoi. He completed it in 15 moves, the lowest number you could possibly get with 4 discs. Again, the test parents just stared at the towers in front of them, not knowing what this meant. Then finally, we have this. Henry lifted the puzzle cube that Johnny had solved earlier onto the table. This is called the Matrome Cube. It's designed to test and rank a person's average IQ. Most people can only complete an 1/8 of it before they're stumped. Those who complete it in half of an hour score an average IQ about 120. Albert Einstein was one of the first people to test this and scored a time of just over 15 minutes. Johnny's eyes widened with fear. He looked at Mr. Teacherman with pleading eyes, but he wouldn't meet them. He tried to think fast of something he could do to stop him from saying it, but there was just nothing he could do. Johnny completed it in 5 minutes and 37 seconds. Silence hung over the room. Neither Hugh nor Lilia knew what to say. Not that Henry could blame them. After all, well, what would they say when someone told you that your slacker, troublemaking son solved an impossibly complex puzzle 3 times faster than Einstein? He was the first one to overcome his speechlessness. I don't understand. Hugh picked the puzzle cube up and gave it a closer look. Did you help him at all? Did he cheat? No, he most certainly did not, Henry answered, a little off-put that Hugh's first reaction to the news was to automatically assume his son cheated his way through it. He didn't even know it was an IQ test when I gave it to him. That's beside the point, though. The point is that when I calculated his time, Johnny's estimated IQ was somewhere between 200 and 215. The sound of wood scraping against the tiled floor screeched suddenly pierced the air. Before any of the adults could move, Johnny was already up and running out the door. He could hear his parents shouting behind him, but he ignored them and continued to run. They found out everything he had worked so hard to keep a secret, all because he underestimated that stupid teacher's perception. Man, I really have a bad cough today. Johnny didn't stop running until he made it all the way home, running up the staircase and slamming the door to his room closed. Shaking, he slumped down to the floor and curled himself into a ball. Well, tears and choked-back sobs quickly followed as Johnny's small frame shook. Roughly 20 minutes later, there was a soft knock at his door. "Go away," he screamed. He didn't want to have to deal with his mother or father right now. "Johnny, it's me." The sound of Henry Teacherman's voice was as soft as the earlier knocking, but still distinguishable. "I said go away!" Johnny screamed at the top of his lungs. There was a slight hesitation before he spoke again. "Look, Johnny, I just want to say I'm sorry." Johnny's door suddenly flung open to reveal Johnny. His face was flushed and his eyes were red and puffy from his crying. "You told them." The slight quiver in his voice was impossible to notice. "Why'd you have to fucking tell them?" "Oh my god, you swore." "Johnny, I'm sorry." "Sorry? You're sorry? I've been hiding the fact that I'm smart from everybody for years, and you tell them and ruin it all, and you think that you're supposed to make it up to me by saying sorry? He found out of breath and strained from his screaming. I know it can, Johnny. I just want to let you know that I should have talked to you about it first. I should have known there was a reason you hadn't told anybody how smart you were. Well, now thanks to you, everything's ruined. Johnny's chest shook as he began to sob again. And now they're going to know everything, and they're going to try to change me into something like my sisters. And after that, Johnny couldn't take it anymore and dissolved into tears again. Henry tried to comfort him by putting his arms across his shoulders. Johnny didn't make any signs that he accepted the embrace, but didn't try to push him away either. After several minutes of Johnny crying, he finally started to calm down. Henry rubbed his back to try and offer more comfort. So that's why you didn't want to tell anyone? You didn't want your parents to find out and try to make you be like your sisters? Johnny nodded weakly. After a moment of silence passed, listen, Johnny, I convinced your parents to wait downstairs while I talk to you. So why don't we go talk to your parents about this? Johnny didn't respond, just let himself be guided down the hall and down the stairs to where his parents were sitting on the living room couch. Once down there, he looked up to meet his parents' eyes. His mother's eyes were rimmed red like his, obviously from crying, and his father had that look on his face that said he was ashamed. Before Johnny or Henry could get a word out, Lila had launched herself from the couch. She swept her son up in a hug. Johnny, we're so sorry. We had no idea you felt that way. Yeah, his mother cried. Johnny felt tears sting his eyes as he nuzzled his head against his mother's shoulder, glad for her comfort. His father got up to join the hug as well. Feeling he was overstaying his welcome, Henry quietly slipped out of the house to give Johnny and his parents the proper privacy they deserved. He got into his car and started heading into his own home. It briefly occurred to him, now that Johnny would probably be moved into a higher grade, there would be a lot less hijinks and mayhem in his class. 2 days ago, he would have loved that idea. Now it made him feel a little sad that he wouldn't get to see the Flamehair boy on a weekly basis. Still, it was all for the best, so that made him feel a little better. He was happy with himself as well, feeling he done his job and changed Johnny's life forever. Henry allowed himself a small, satisfied smile and continued on his way home. And that does it for Puzzle Games and Revelations. That was a really, really good one. It's definitely a different type of Johnny Test story. I don't think I've ever read anything else like it. So I definitely enjoyed that with reading that one. Now, after the first time I looked up, I actually searched up what was it called again? The Matromi Cube, that was it. I actually tried to search up the Matromi Cube just to see what it was like, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So, if anyone actually finds it, let me know. But, anyway, that was a really good one. So I'll see you next time. I'm with another fic by the Almighty Ultimix. This one's actually going to be a Phineas and Ferb one instead. Maybe it's because I've been talking non-stop for 24 minutes. It's in 22 seconds. Maybe that's why I'm getting a cough. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.